Hey everyone, and welcome back to another King Arthur Legends Rise video. So in today's video, guys, I'm going to be talking about the 4 rares in this game that I think continue on to the end game. They stay strong, very, very important. However, I do want to mention that there's plenty of really good rares. I honestly think that every single rare here can be played and has some kind of purpose. I think the 2 that are probably the weakest, in my opinion, are Gareth and Nicholas. They, I don't know. It's just, they could truly shine in Guild versus Guild because they are very, very PvP focused. And right now, there's just no use for PvP characters too much other than Arena. And that just, doesn't really make you want to build them. But like I said, a lot of these heroes, even if they are niche, like Bodwin. I think Bodwin is very, very niche. I showcased him the other day in Master of Apocalypse. He's also really good in one of the equipment dungeons. But yeah, there's always room for people. Anguish is fantastic. Anything DOT related, even if bosses resist DOT, Anguish can be endgame. Very good. Kay, same thing. Arthur, fantastic damage dealer in his Storm Relic. So if the 4 heroes that I mentioned here, aren't heroes that you think are the end game best heroes or whatever, just my opinion, guys, okay? But I do want to bring it to you because I think these heroes, even if most of them are, really obvious, I just want to talk about them. So the first one is Cormac. His Frost Relic is very, very strong. His 3rd skill pumps out a crap ton of damage. I think he's a really strong replacement for somebody like Bedivere, who is without a doubt the best damage dealer in the game. However, Cormac does what Bedivere can do just like at 90%, which is, just not enough sometimes. But he does make some things like autoable much easier than Bedivere. Like I can auto the what is it? Master of something. The other one was Serenos. Master of Death. I can farm this on stage 10 with Cormac, but I can't do it with Bedivere just because he's all over the map. So that's kind of annoying for me, but Cormac kind of solves that, so that's really good. On top of that, he's great in Master of Apocalypse. He's really good in dungeons. He's really good in the Forbidden Dungeon, and sadly, he does not come with his Frost Relic. He comes baseline with his Storm Relic, which isn't bad. He has a very high multiplier on his 3rd skill here as well. The problem is if you have his Frost Relic, and you're using him as a Storm Relic, and you're using him as a Storm damage dealer, I think Kay ends up being a little bit better just in regards to being able to build her a little bit easier. Her 4-hitter on her 2nd skill, giving her the crit damage increase and the crit rate increase with an OK multiplier. She also pumps herself up with the attack gauge, gives herself attack increase. These things just make her a little bit easier to build in regards to her gear, where Cormac doesn't have any crit rate assistance, nothing like that. So it's much harder to get the amount of damage up for single target use. Now, if you're using him, like I mentioned, in the Frost Relic, your damage multipliers here with 3 enemies is just really tough to compete with in regards to an AoE ability. The other person that kind of outclasses him in the Storm element is Arthur, and I'm going to be talking about Arthur in a separate video once I get him fully built, but he completely outclasses Cormac from a Storm perspective, because this is a triple hitter, and it is 383% attack, but each hit on a Frost element does 32 additional, so his multiplier is just way higher. Like it's close to 500%. And then he does an extra attack whenever he's Chivalry 9. Sorry, Chivalry 8. So, yeah, Arthur can pump out a lot of damage. But this is a video about Cormac. So, yes, his Frost Relic is absolutely great. One of the places that I think he's just absolutely fantastic in is in this nest of Yaskelheg. You can use a team just like this, but with Cormac in his Frost Relic, and you can farm stage 9 extremely easy. Ironically, the other two of the three heroes that we're going to be talking about on this list are Turan and Sarah. So I'm going to talk to you about Turan and Sarah right now, because then we're going to show why they're so good. And spoiler, it's just what I just showed you. They can farm one of the most important dungeons. So Cormac's damage kind of unmatched, and he can be a nice replacement for Bedivere, where there's not really another great Frost damage dealer in the rare section. I think Ban used to be pretty good in that area before they got rid of him, or not rid of him. They reduced his damage. Ralph's got some interesting things to play around with. So does Urian's. I've been pretty impressed with Urian's damage, but Urian suffers from being able to, he has to hurt himself. He has to sacrifice HP to do that. So that's something. And then Rosier has some really good damage as well. But I think that's why Cormac ends up shining, is there's not a whole lot of AoE damage dealers in general. And then if you get one in the Frost element to kind of supplement if you don't have a Bedivere, that's why he is so good. The next one is Rosier. I think everyone knows about her Flame Relic. The damage multiplier on this is very, very good, 315% attack. Now, she has the same kind of mechanic as Urian's, where she sacrifices 10% of her health, but she also has Drain within her kit, so she heals herself back up, which is awesome. And on top of that, Morgan, as we've mentioned in multiple videos, is the best legendary in the entire game. And if you don't have someone that has a leader skill, Morgan actually gives you additional Drain. So, there's ways to have Drain, like through equipment. It's just a very subpar set in regards to the other 3 or 4 that are widely used in the game. But when you have someone like Rosier, who has it built into her kit, it's really nice to pair with Morgan and take advantage of the extra Drain to keep her healthy while she's spamming this third skill. On top of that, this Hook of Death is very, very strong. So this ends up being a 355% multiplier with the ability to add on an additional 131% to everybody and inflict bleed. On top of that, there's a lot of on top of that. She has the ability to extend DOTs. This is an amazing chivalry, and if anyone has the ability to use your memory stones to get Rosier up to 8, she will help you clear so much content as your main damage dealer, especially if you don't have Cormac with a Frost Relic. If you don't have Bedivere, Rosier can be absolutely amazing. And at a 40% clip, this is kind of easy to trigger for how strong it is. You do need to fully level it up, but I think it's one of the best relics to level up in the fire element, as there's not many other good rares to use your fire books on. The nice thing is even if you don't have Rosier's Flame Relic, her Storm Relic, which she comes with, is also very, very good. She has a pretty decent multiplier on her S3, and she has a 60% chance to inflict bleed on there, on everyone. So this is really good against any of the bosses that have appendages. A lot of times, these bleeds will be the reason that you're ticking down those appendages and end up killing them quicker than the boss. It's very, very useful, and I think a little bit underrated. So her Storm Relic is still good, and so is her Frost Relic. So if you don't have the Flame Relic, it's okay. She still top 4 rare in the game, in my opinion. It's just that Flame Relic ends up having a super high multiplier, and you have the Hook of Death on her best relic. I don't know why they stacked it like that, where the other two kind of just get decent damage with high percentage to inflict the bleed. It's a little, I don't know. It's a little skewed. I don't know why they did that. But yeah, absolutely amazing. The next one is Turan. Man, I can't tell you how amazing this character is. Now, part of what makes her amazing is she does pair with Morgan, right? Who is the best legendary. Being able to change the weather to night for Morgan is such a huge deal. Makes Morgan faster. It allows Morgan's Chivalry 1 to activate, which is giving people just raw damage right off the rip. So her Chivalry 1 at the start of the battle, if it's nighttime, everyone on your team gets damage dealt increase 1. So their raw damage just increases by 20%. So that's one of the reasons why Turan ends up being so good. But on top of that, her baseline Storm Relic has an amazing ability on her skill 3. She gives effect resistance, which is very, very strong. A lot of these bosses have abnormal status, which can stun you, fear you, all of those things. So having effect resistance is a big deal. It's a nice big heal as well. And the other buff that she can give you is attack speed increase. Those are very, very strong buffs. If you end up putting her in a Vigor set, you can just spam her skill 2. She gives effect accuracy, which is another just huge buff. A lot of people really struggle with having effect accuracy on their debuffers. Turan is an amazing hero for that. Just being able to spam effect accuracy increase 2, which I think is 40% increase. It's a big deal. On top of that, she pairs well with Cormac too. The defense increase 2 can go a long way to increasing his damage. And then if it's night, she's pumping out some really good recovery over time. So she's still a healer, even if you're not able to utilize her really big heal and those 2 buffs. Great, great hero. Her Fire Relic is extremely good too. She gives effect resistance increase 2 and evasion rate 2 on her skill 2. This, I think, is a pretty underrated relic. I use this relic in stage 10 of the Nest of Jeskelhag, the equipment dungeon for attack and speed. But if you also don't have Bedivere, which is what I'm using to farm stage 10, stage 9 can be farmed with Cormac and the Frost Relic, and I use the evasion rate to help, my team kind of stay alive. So that's very good. On her Fire Relic, though, she does not have a heal. It's actually a triple hitter for damage. It's really weird. But still, her Frost Relic, also good. If it's night, it gives effect resistance 2 and defense increase 1. But it comes with that stock recovery over time. So you don't need it to be nighttime. But by the time you get her Frost Relic, she'll probably at least be Chivalry 1, which is where she changes the weather to night. Her heal is okay here. She does have the ability to grant each ally recovery increase 1. So this heal ends up becoming huge. It's a big, big heal. But I think what you get from the Storm Relic having really great buffs on skill 2 and 3, it makes her best relic. The problem is it's a weak element in Nest of Jeskelhag, but Turan can be used in every single team. And you can just kind of shift around her relic. Last is Sarah. Now, it's odd because Sarah is a healer and a pretty good healer. Like, she removes debuffs from people, which is really huge. Even when you use her skills, any skill, she can actually book up her passive to remove 2 debuffs from all of the allies every time she uses a skill. Like, she is a really good healer. She also gives a defense increase with a large heal on her skill 3 on her baseline Storm Relic. Her Frost Relic gives a single large heal, 35%. It is single target though, so it's not as good in my opinion. But both on her skill 2s for her Frost and her Storm Relic, they heal everybody and remove a debuff. So those are strong. Her Flame Relic is one of the few relics in the game. Actually, I think it's the only relic in the game that puts up buff disruption. This is huge. This is a huge deal, and it's for 3 turns. So Sarah is the only hero in the game that has this buff disruption debuff. It's an amazing effect, especially for that equipment dungeon, the best equipment dungeon. That's why Sarah is so good, is because she is one of a kind. And she's one of a kind in an area that you want to farm. That's what makes her so good. But even if you don't use her for that, she can still be a fantastic healer. She's just outclassed by Turan, in my opinion, because of all of the other things that Turan gives you, where Sarah just kind of gives you big heals. The funny thing is Sarah turns into like a damage dealer as well on her Fire Relic. I don't know why they do that, but yeah, they did. Her second passive is where she has buff disruption just on a passive, and it's on a 1-turn cooldown. This is what makes her fantastic. You don't even need her Flame Relic. So before I go in and show you the areas that these heroes are good in, I know I mentioned a lot of different relics, like, oh, if you have this relic, if you have this relic. A lot of people struggle with that. I really want to emphasize, guys, that you need to come to the Lake of Avalon every single day, and you need to look at this relic section to see what is available here for you to pick out. You never know what's going to drop here. You never know if there's going to be a Rosier Flame Relic. You never know if there's going to be a Cormac Frost Relic. Those things are really going to matter. They are 100% worth spending for over saving up for a legendary relic. I promise you. The only reason I have so many of these things is, 1, I spend money on the game, and 2, I already have the relics I need for the rares. So now I'm just waiting for the right relics for, legendary heroes. But you should 100% exchange those shards for your relics. Go in here and select all, and you should exchange these. If you're free to play or whatever, and you're trying to maximize efficiency, you do not need these individual relics for uncommons and commons. You don't need them. I'm telling you right now, sell them and wait for those really important relics that I just mentioned here for those heroes. Okay, so in all of these dungeons, Plane of Beasts, right here, I use Rosier. I don't need Bedivere. If I wanted to, I could use someone like Turan. I could go in here and use Turan. I could probably even use Cormac. This might work. I can't remember if this is a triple hitter or not. So it's a double hitter. It's going to hit his... it's going to hit the sides. Let's see if this even works. It might. So we got the Frost Relic, Cormac, and we have Rosier, right? Let's do 1. We'll prioritize the boss and see what happens. So we don't have a whole lot of vigor on here, which could end up being our downfall. But, yeah, let's see. Okay. So really big damage out of our Cormac. He's going to end up probably taking out the tusks, which is going to be really good. But here, our Turan is keeping us healthy. We have Cormac being able to sustain a good chunk of damage because he's a defense hero. So, all right, both tusks completely destroyed. So now, the boss just does way less damage. And these heroes, I don't think they're in like amazing gear. It's just over time, you end up building the right pieces to eventually, have a strong hero. These games are a marathon. If your Cormac isn't hitting as hard as mine, if your Rosier isn't hitting as hard as mine, it just takes time, guys. So yeah, I think this ends up being a clear. It's pretty close to it, I'd say. We are running out of vigor, but I think it's going to end up being enough. Yeah, there you go. So 3 out of the 4 that I mentioned, all used at stage 10 Plane of Beast. Now, Burning Land, this is where Rosier shines. Rosier, Degenerate, you have Anguish, and then, you could even use Sarah to heal yourself back up if you wanted to. This is where you have Rosier and Anguish just take down the boss. I'm not going to show you this just because I'm already at 20 minutes on this video. Aldry is where things get a little bit tricky. Because I do not have the team built, I can't show you. But there's been other really great content creators. Ayumi Love is one of them. He has showcased a really cool team with Rosier, Anguish, and then Degenerate, and then Bulk. So these 4 can beat Aldry Frozen Plane 10, and it's because of Rosier and also because of Anguish. But Rosier extends all of the DOTs on this boss, allowing you to beat this boss, even though this has a damage over time taken decrease by 90%. You can't sleep on these guys, even though the bosses take less damage from DOT. Very, very strong. Shrine of Storms is the only one that I can think of that won't be able to use any of those characters. You still can, like on lower stages, but up to stage 10, it's not going to work. So in Nest of Yeskelheg, this is where these heroes are amazing. So I can throw in a Cormac Frost Relic here, Turan in her Flame Relic, and then Sarah is in a Frost Relic. And I do have Morgan in her Frost, but I can also use her in Flame. And this will still clear. It's because, Cormac is just such a strong damage dealer. You have the buff disruption from your Sarah. So she's got buff disruption and attack gauge disruption. But Cormac goes in there and just smacks. So Sarah's going to go in, waste her other turn here using her cooldown. Cormac goes in and finishes them off. So now Sarah's passive skill, the buff disruption, is off cooldown, and we can actually land that so the boss doesn't end up being able to put any of the buffs that he has. He's got a myriad of them on himself, and we're able to end up clearing this because of the damage from Cormac. The evasion, I don't know if anyone's catching it, the evasion from Turan is absolutely amazing. And then that unique skill that only Sarah has, stopping all the buffs from the boss, allowing us to just go in there and completely crush it. So this is stage 9. Now stage 10, I'm almost positive this team can do it, but my Cormac just isn't strong enough. So I do use Bedivere because it's very fast and consistent, but I have no doubt in my mind that Cormac would be able to do it if I had good enough gear to eventually get him up there. But this is a stage 9 1-minute clear with 3 rares and a free legendary. Right? Stage 9. So the other areas, let's see here. So in this equipment dungeon, which is a far less important than the other one. However, I don't have any doubt in my mind that something like a Rosier and a Morgan, could probably farm this. I don't think I've ever tried this, but let's give it a whirl and let's see. This is a little bit more difficult, I think, at least for these teams. because I'm kind of ignoring the mechanics of this dungeon, and I don't think it suits these heroes very well. But I don't know. We're just kind of doing this for fun to see if we can make it work. Ideally, maybe we'd have, even a Rosier in a in a vigor set. It could be interesting. I could throw her in her flame relic here, and I think it would also be good. But I'm kind of just kind of testing stuff here on the fly. Okay, so the bleeds knocked her out. Nice. So our Cormac never ends up having enough vigor. This is probably where we die. Oh yeah, see. Oh, and I'm not even targeting the boss. The problem is I'm targeting the foots. So yeah, this probably won't work. Oh, pretty good damage from Rosier there. Oh, nice. Cormac going in. Okay. Oh, hold up. So you're saying there's a chance. Okay. Oh, nope. No chance. Okay. But yeah, I think this team could work, especially if I was targeting the boss at the beginning. I think I wasted some pretty good debuffs from Morgan on these legs, and they're still kind of targeting that leg. Yeah, and this is where it all goes south. But you see how tanky just Cormac and Turan are. Just Turan and Cormac are really, really strong here. So she's getting silenced. I think if we brought in somebody that has like abnormal status instead of the Rosier, you could do it with Cormac. Or if you wanted to bring in, Rosier instead of the Cormac, I'm pretty sure that would also get it done. But I don't have these heroes built specifically for this dungeon. But ironically, this still has a small chance. We're just healing so much that it is so close. Okay. Oh, so close. Oh, okay. Oh, he's put up a whole bunch of buffs on him. This is over. Oh, so close. Okay. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that could work. But now the video has completely gone off the rails. And then Fortress is all about, just turn meter control, so this doesn't really apply. I've already mentioned that they're absolutely amazing in Sealed Temple. You can use Rosier, you can use Cormac. See, I use Turan in here. As for turn meter gauge, you don't need Gillian there. She's more so for speed. You can 100% fill in Jack here in Master of Death 10. You don't need to use Cormac. You can use Rosier in her Flame Relic. All of those things will apply, and this will 100% clear this easy. Master of Apocalypse, a little bit different. However, I think the same thing still kind of applies. You're just going to use a bunch of different combinations of heroes, but you can 100% find someone like a Rosier Flame Relic here or a Cormac slotting in with your Bodwin and then with like a Clementine. So you're still using one of those heroes, but now you're using more niche heroes for something. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to showcase some of those heroes, why all four of them are so strong, and why they're worth the resources to level 60. The other ones, certainly good. They're going to find their areas, but if you prioritize those four, I think you're going to see that they're used in a vast amount of places. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was helpful. Hope you're having a great Sunday, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.